Hello and good afternoon, everybody. This is Usman again, still in Frankfurt, enjoying the sun currently and taking it easy, working at the same time basically, so I'm not enjoying that much. Yes, yesterday I participated in a webinar from a company called Bulwingesa. Well, they came up with a studies in which they say that over various asset classes in regards to real estate, for example, residential, housing, office, logistics, etc., one should aim for an internal rate of return of 5%. So if the internal rate of return, I would explain exactly what it is. If the internal rate of return is below 5%, then the investment is not so viable. Now, they did make certain conditions. They said that this investment is basically set by 100% equity. So which means you're not taking out any loan and so on and so forth. They basically said you take whatever funds you have and put it into a property, and afterwards you need to generate an internal rate of return of 5% at least, or it wouldn't be viable. Now, in my case, I was just concentrating on residential real estate, and they basically said that over, let's say all over Germany basically, by investing into residential real estate, you can simply just aim for an internal rate of return of between 1 to 3%. So you wouldn't even get the necessary 5% in order for it to be a viable investment. So I went ahead and I said, okay, let me just put this theory to the test and start calculating the internal rate of return. Let's just say for new developments in Frankfurt, and I just concentrated in Frankfurt city center. So what I did, I took a look into a website called Neubau Kompass. You would find all the different new developments in Frankfurt and how much they're priced for, the sizes, who to contact, and so on and so forth. So I simply just concentrated again on the city center of Frankfurt. I looked into properties that have more than, I would say, 60 units. When I did so, I found out that there are certain properties which are quite lucrative, which means the rental the rent per square meter was sufficiently high, or basically the sustainable rent per square meter was sufficiently high. At the same time, the purchase price per square meter was below 10,000 euros. So I came up with a property in Bockenheim, which has a rental yield of 3.25%. That was the highest I calculated out of the various properties that I looked into Frankfurt city center. So what do you do with this information? You have the rental yield of 2.5%. Is that good or not? Let's just find out. So the next thing I did, I went ahead to calculate the internal rate of return of this property in Bockenheim. So what do we get? You would basically see that let me get back. You would basically see that you would again receive an internal rate of return of 2.96%. We're still below the 5%, okay? And we have a negative net present value of minus 17,971. So what does that mean? That basically says that, okay, you have invested into a property full with equity, and at the end, after 10 years, you would make a loss. Okay, you need to make certain assumptions when you calculate the internal rate of return. For example, you need to set up a sustainable rent. How much rent would you receive per square meter? You need to also determine how high the rental increase would be, for example. So I simply made my estimations and came up with this result, which is not the best result, I would say. Now, on the other hand, we would go ahead and say, let's just work with with debt. We will take out a loan of roughly 70% of the purchase price. Now, in this case, the purchase price was 500,000 euros. We will take 350,000 as a loan from a bank at a certain interest rate. And now you see that the internal rate of return is above 5%, which was shown by Bulwingesa. Now, obviously, it is higher. Why? Because you're using leverage. In the studies of Bulwingesa, they did not use any leverage. They basically said you're investing into whatever property with simply with equity, and without any debt. So what does this basically mean? It means that if you're investing into real estate, it is wise to determine how much loan you can get on the property in order to make this investment a viable investment, rather than putting all your equity into something and finding out later on it wasn't the best idea to do that investment. So that's it from my end. I hope you enjoyed this little lecture. If you have questions, feel free to get back to me. Thank you. Bye bye.